Welcome back to ARMEDFORAGER. Today's going to be a little bit different. We're going to do a voiceover for the way in which I like to tie and secure a tarp. So the one I just recently got for this camp out that we just got back from is a rectangle tarp. This one's waterproof. In the application we're going to do today, we're hanging a ridge line here, but this tarp is going to serve the purpose of sunshade and possible rain shelter depending on the weather tonight. This will also provide a little bit more privacy for us. Different possible applications for this could be, sunshade, rain shelter. This really is kind of a A-frame or lean-to type of design. As you'll see, all of the knots that I'm tying here are going to be a variation or a version of a taut line hitch or a taut knot or a tension type knot. The only other knot that I'm using is a double overhand for the prusik. Yeah, so here's the beginning of the prusik here and the double overhand. You can tie this whatever way you would want to in order to complete that loop. I'm just using paracord, and hey, I would suggest, if you're gonna get paracord, get Atwood. They're made in the USA, paracord, and it is fantastic paracord. I mean, you cannot beat it from Atwood. And just to sweeten the deal when it comes to that, hey, there's a 10% discount if you use my code. I'll put a link in the description there. They got any type of rope you could ever need. They've got ridiculous tension strength paracord. It's fantastic. Go ahead and check that out, use the code, and get yourself 10% off. Yeah, so here's what my prusik looks like. It ain't pretty, it ain't gotta be. All it's gotta do is not move when it's pulled on like this, and then move when you want it to. So there's some flexibility there. I'm using these pine cones, or I thought I was gonna use these pine cones as kind of a toggle. And I could have, but instead I decided to go with these because they're longer and I didn't give enough tension, I think, for my prusik, and so there was a lot of overhang, and so this took up that overhang when it came to the loop, and so it made for a fine toggle there. Also, if you were curious on what knots I used for the ridge line, I also used those tension knots that I was talking about, and I'll show you exactly what version of the tension knot or the taut line hitch that I was using here in just a little bit further on in the video. But all of the knots that I'm using are adjustable and they serve many different purposes for tension and release, easy release. So instead of spending a ton of time trying to get the knot out after you're done with everything, it will just as easily come apart as you put it together. And it maintains and it holds and it's versatile and you can move it around. Yeah, so here's those toggles I was talking about, and these are great when you just have a tarp, when it's not specifically made for camping and those types of things, when it's anything but a Gucci tarp. And you know what, I actually took those toggles out because I did have some carabiners, and so I just strapped those right on and locked those into the prusik, and this tarp actually had some reinforced holes in it, so I just utilized those. They were right in the middle, so it was perfect for what we were doing. So as you probably noticed, the one corner is already tied into place, and I actually just tied that around another tree. There was another close tree, and so I tied it up pretty high there so that I could have some room to walk underneath of it. And then the other side, I put a stake in the ground and did that tension knot. We're about to do the same exact tension knot right here up close and personal so you guys can see what I've been talking about. So you tie it to your tarp there in the corner, and you can also use a toggle if you don't have those reinforced holes like I do. And so you wrap it around once, you wrap it around a second time. And instead of going through itself when you wrap it around, you just take it around this side here in the front, and you put it through those two loops. Now this will give you enough tension to where it is secure, like a knot. And the end result is pretty nice. You don't have to get fancy with this by any means. You don't need to do a pure, super fancy tension knot by any means at all, or a fisherman's knot. You really don't need to do that. You just give it the double wrap there and then go through itself. And that's it. And then you can adjust this thing. You can adjust it to where you need it to be in as much tension as you would like to pull that tarp and get it into place. So again, the nice thing about it is that's the only knot that I've been using to tie the ridge line, to tie into the reinforced holes on the corners of the tarp here. And it's how I've been tensioning the tarp to the ground to make that taut line. And it really is a great knot. It's versatile. Like I said, it's the only knot that I've been using. And it really is great because it comes undone when you want it to come undone. Again, you don't have to worry about fussing around with the knots or cutting the line because you can't get it undone. And the cool thing about it is, like I said, if you learn this one knot, then you have a lot of strategy when it comes to building a shelter or just hanging a hammock or hanging an awning like this. And it's very, very simple and very, very simple to remember. You wrap it around once, you wrap it around twice, and then you take it through the front and pull. That's it. And now it's got enough tension to maintain its integrity, and you can move it around and adjust it. So you can pull the line tighter when you need to. And as you'll see later in the video, I did take up that one corner and tie it to the tree so that there was more of a flat roof angle on the one side.
And there you go, it makes it easier, especially if there's a tree. You can just tie it off there and then you'll get a higher